Welcome to Christianbook.com's Weekly Insider. July 10, 2009 marks the 500th anniversary of reformer John Calvin's birth. We just couldn't miss the opportunity to honor one of the founders of modern Protestantism. This week, we'll take a closer look at Calvin's Commentaries, plus the bonus copy of Calvin's Institutes and Young, Restless, Reformed by Collin Hansen. First, a little bit about John Calvin. As a second-generation reformer, John Calvin was influenced by Martin Luther and Ulrich Zwingli. He had a profound influence in his native France and in Switzerland, where he fled to escape persecution by the Catholic Church of France. Besides his religious contributions, he also founded the school that later became the University of Geneva. Calvin was a prolific scholar and author. Institutes of the Christian Religion is his most influential work. In addition, he wrote commentaries on nearly every book of the Bible. His legacy is startling, especially when you consider the resurgence of Calvinism among a new generation of American evangelicals. Let's start off by looking at Calvin's commentaries. We're selling them in a gorgeous set with a bonus copy of Calvin's Institutes for just $119.99. That's 90% off the retail price of $1,200. This collector's edition includes 22 burgundy hardcovers with gold-stamped spines and the 500th anniversary seal. The set contains commentaries on 24 books of the Old Testament and every book of the New Testament except for 2nd and 3rd John and Revelation. They show Calvin's profound scholarship, his constant and careful regard for Scripture, and his Reformed perspective. Let's take a closer look. In his treatment of Psalm 23, Calvin highlights David as a rare example of someone who remembers God and is grateful to him when they experience his blessings, while the human tendency is to be preoccupied with enjoying the gifts, forgetting the giver. The commentaries on the Gospels show the parallel passages in Matthew, Mark, and Luke side by side and explores the similarities and differences between the writers' accounts. These are just a couple of examples of the observances of this famed reformer. Reading his commentaries opens a window to his soul as you see what he gleaned from his reading of the Holy Scriptures. The bonus copy of the Institutes you'll receive is Henry Beveridge's classic 1845 English translation, based on Calvin's final and most thorough Latin edition. It's set in modern type and combined into a single volume with expanded, updated indexes grouped together at the back. Calvin wrote the Institutes for lay people who were hungry and thirsty for Christ, but knew little of the basic tenets of the Christian faith. It discusses the knowledge of God, the role of the Scripture, the Spirit, prayer in daily life, idolatry, the law, Jesus' sacrifice on the cross, election, the jurisdiction and abuses of the Church as exemplified in the papacy, and much more. As the preface to this edition says, turn the page and let Calvin speak. There are several editions of Calvin's Institutes of the Christian Religion available separately as well. Visit Christianbook.com to find them. Did you know that Calvinism is gaining popularity among a new generation of believers? Being fed a watered-down gospel message for most of their lives, young adults are hungering and thirsting for the transcendent glory of God, and they find it in Calvinism. John Piper and R.C. Sproul are esteemed preachers and teachers among followers of the new Calvinism. Their teachings and songs at Passion conferences, which focus on the glory of God, hit the mark for many young believers. In Young, Restless, Reformed Christianity Today, columnist Collin Hansen explores the new Calvinism. Part testimony, part travelogue, part history, part theological treatise, it describes Hansen's own spiritual journey as he embarks on a physical journey around the U.S. to places where the teachings of Calvin are gaining a foothold. Along the way, Hansen explains the history of Reformed theology and how New Calvinism differs from the traditional Calvinism. Hansen's book has the distinction of being mentioned in a cover article of the March 2009 edition of Time magazine, entitled 10 Ideas Changing the World Right Now. The New Calvinism shows up as number 3 on their list. At the moment, Young, Restless, Reformed contains the most complete explanation of this growing phenomenon. For more books by and about John Calvin, simply type John Calvin into the search bar at Christianbook.com. You'll be brought to this store, which includes sets, audiobooks, bargains, devotionals, biographies, and much more, all by and about John Calvin. That wraps up our Weekly Insider. Join us next time for an all-new edition focusing on some of our most popular titles. Until then, have a great week and God bless.